I have a lot to say about these panels. Some good, some annoying, and some bad. Let's find out if the good outweighs the bad though, and see if I wasted my money on these. Now, back when I moved over from my old setup, I knew I was giving up some of the quality on the environment. This is a cardioid condenser microphone. That setup was tight, and it was intended to be so. But having my everyday working computer as my backdrop was not an efficient way to run a YouTube channel, and the idea of keeping it clean was a main contributor to my stress. Hence, the move to this studio. And yes, I've heard some and read most of the comments. I know there's some resonance with this setup. I mean, of course there is, considering there was absolutely zero treatment on the walls behind me before, well, today. Now, I've seen several other videos espousing how great they are, so I decided to dive in. Well, when I got them, I was pretty impressed. The build on these panels is quite good, with varied densities throughout the panel. And when you compare them to the Orlex, kind of the industry standard, they actually kind of stack up well. And when you stand near them, you can actually hear the absorbent properties. Now, it's not very much of a scientific test, but still nice to see I haven't wasted my money so far. Also, the mounting system is something that has been needed in sound panels for some time. The only real options have been to glue them to your walls or pin them up with nails, as I have. Now, glue is great if you want to look all nice and tidy, but hell when you want to move things around. The nails are awesome, but after a time, it does start to look a bit sloppy. This, I have to admit, is a nice in-between. However, it is that mounting system that is the first real drawback. You see, the panels are mounted on the walls with these frames, which you put together yourself. Now, I get it. It's a small gripe, but a gripe nonetheless. There's no reason they couldn't have been shipped put together. I tested it. They would have taken up no more room in the box, which is kind of weird. Secondly, though, the plastic tabs that you're snapping together seem to be rather flimsy, and I came very close to breaking them a few times myself. I guess I got lucky and all my frames were fine, but we're going to come back to those frames in a second. Now, when you mount these to the wall, there's a couple supplied ways. First off is the option of screws and anchors. Very much a permanent solution and plausibly messy if you ever decide to switch it up. And secondly, it came with some sticky two-sided tape that was supposed to be drywall safe, which, cool. I will always take the drywall tape over screws any day, as it has a better chance of not ruining your walls even if it isn't drywall safe. The problem with this drywall safe tape, though, is it was drywall safe by just not adhering to the bloody drywall. I'm sure on a perfectly flat surface it would have possibly held, but here's a quick piece of info. No wall is actually perfectly flat because of the way they're designed and built, which leads us to me finding out exactly how easily these things break, and well, I gotta warn you, this is a bit sad. Which led to a bunch of breaks on these tabs, which is super annoying because they don't actually send extra pieces for these with the kits. Absolutely mind-blowing. Why don't you just send at least one extra with each one, Elgato? A few extra pennies for you, and I don't have to jump through your flaming hoops of annoyance just to put my last few panels up. Absolutely unbelievable. And yes, by the way, I have a bunch of them that are broken now because they fell off the wall. So yeah, I can't recommend that you use the included tape, which leaves you with either using the screws, which weirdly they only supply 4, or you can just go get yourself some two-sided tape. Get the good stuff though. Make sure it has 3M on it. I got some here. This is what I actually used. Again, this stuff sticks to the wall like cement, by the way, but it isn't guaranteed to wreck your wall. Screws, on the other hand, will wreck your wall 100% of the time. That decision's up to you though. Now, it was rather easy and somewhat satisfying once I started the process of putting these back up onto the wall. They look fantastic when you see the final product, and I really like that you can swap around the panels to get some different looks. Now, I did mention these things work, but I have no practical way to test them at this point. And when I look at some of the specs for their noise reduction coefficient, well, Elgato does seem to cherry pick their numbers a bit, but again, they do work well. I've been wanting to do a comparison of these options for some time, ranging from egg cartons all the way up to some of the premium options. Not sure how I'm going to frame it or even to test it to get real world scientific results. Maybe build a VO booth? I don't know. If you have any ideas, hit me up down below. And since I forgot to actually do this part of the video before I put everything up, let's do a before with, well, all of the foam off the wall. So this is the audio before all of the foam is on the walls. This is what it sounds like after I've put it all up. What do you think? And now I'm going to get it even a little louder so you can kind of hear some of the resonance of my voice as it bounces, specifically from that back wall. And this is after. And I'm going to get even louder as I talk so you can kind of hear the difference. How much do you think it made a difference with all this stuff on the wall? Let me know. But then with all that, that leaves us with the question, are these worth your time and money? Well, to Elgato's credit, these things are probably the best looking option on the market for that gamer chic aesthetic. And really any kind of aesthetic if you're using these for background props, all the while needing a bit of sound absorption. And even on the price, when you break it down, these are still a bit cheaper than the Oral X option. Not by a lot, but it is something. Also, one massive benefit to these things may have been somewhat incidental. You see, having an air gap between the panels and the wall is helpful in the process of slowing down your sound waves, something that the Oral X solution doesn't really give you. Now, these don't have a massive gap with the frame, but there is at least a gap when you have them mounted. As for the cons, well, you really need to be careful when assembling them and mounting them to your wall. Elgato should at least offer one extra piece of the frame when shipping. I'm going to be contacting them over social media as well as through email just to figure out how to fix this problem, because this is ridiculous. And other than that, they do kind of suck up the light in the room. Now, it's not a massive problem if you can just add more lighting. But take a close look at their white options, as it might counterbalance some of that darkening that seems to happen. I might do that as well. All in all, though, I would have to call this a minor success for Elgato after all the problems I had. If you're looking for a decent solution and you're willing to be careful, yeah, they're a great option. As for me, I don't think this setup's done yet. As you can see by the amount of room I have to work with since I got my full frame camera, I think this has a ways to go. Any and all tips are happily accepted in the comments, and no, I'm not discussing the guitar that's on the wall quite yet. I will probably do a members video soon about the progress of this whole setup though. I might talk about that a bit. Cheers guys, and I will see you in the next video.